Hey, so we're back with the hot listing. This is part 3. So we're going to show you the end result for the property on Greenview, and then I'm going to update you on another listing in Southfield, but it's in a different price point. So I just want to show you here. So let's look at this particular property. So this was the Greenview property we discussed. We had 23 offers. These were all the agents. I still blocked out the buyers' names. You can see deposits anywhere from 1,000 up to, 4 or 5,000, and the highest offer, of course, was 60,000. We even got 30 days free occupancy on this property. So again, keep in mind, this seller originally came to me and thought her home was only worth 35,000. Now I'm an investor. I typically offer my clients, I give them an offer on the property. So if they don't want to list it, because sometimes people don't want to list their home and they're willing to sell it at a price that I'm willing to pay for it, and the deal makes sense for both parties, then a lot of times I'll buy property. So if you see some of my listings, some of those properties are actually either a fix and flip that I own or I partner with another investor on. So this particular property, let's see here, it was listed, we listed at 42,000, 23 offers. Within 6 days we were under contract. Final closing price was 60,000 and it sold for cash. We just closed on this on January 26th. So let's look at another property that I have here in Southfield. All right, so here we are. This property is on Crescent here in Southfield. We listed this property, and this property was listed on December 30th, which was, just before the holiday, New Year's, and we had a lot of activity on the property. And right after the New Year, we had quite a few showings. And we end up asking for highest and best on this property. And we gave everyone a deadline to submit their offer. And the deadline was basically January 4th at 6 p.m. Well, here's the thing. We had multiple offers on the property, and I'll show you. So on this property, we had several offers. We had a total of 8 offers that came in. Pretty much all of them, with the exception, well, actually all of them were above asking price. Now here's the thing. Our deadline, as you can see here, was Tuesday the 4th at 6 p.m. Now we were pretty much ready to take an offer. The sellers was like, hey, we got an offer, it's pretty high. We got appraisal guarantee and everything. Occupancy wasn't needed. We set our close date far out because this is a probate deal, so we're waiting on the courts to just issue an updated letters of authority. So our deadline was, of course, 6 p.m. Here you can see that. At about 5:45, we get this new offer in, and all of a sudden it's way above any of the other offers from an agent. And this offer was actually accepted, and you can see, I don't know if we can still see the history here, but we accepted an offer on this property on the 5th, which was the following day. And the buyers went in and did their inspection and said, hey, everything's a little bit older than what we thought. We're going to back out. And the conversation between me and one of the agents is kind of realized that the buyer had most likely had not seen this property before submitting an offer. They didn't submit any type of reports or anything like that, any inspection findings. And usually that's a sign that maybe they just didn't see the property and they made a blind offer and they were expecting a little bit more out of the property. So when you start hearing buyers or buyer agents, not necessarily buyers, when they withdraw their offer for things like, oh, the windows are old, or the kitchen needs too many updates, or we have to replace all the flooring and things are outdated, that's a sign that they probably never looked at the property before submitting their offer. Those are things that's kind of obvious when you go by and look at a property. Well, we have backup offers, so I always send out an email once we accept an offer and say, hey, we accepted an offer subject to inspection. Would you like to have your offer held as a backup? What normally happens, this was the other red flag about the other offer. What normally happens is, let's say you go into a house that's in, average, fair to average condition, and there are some minor repairs needed, or even some repairs, period. Normally, the buyer comes back, if they really want the house, they'll say, hey, we like the house, have seller fix or repair the items from this inspection list, or we want a price reduction. There's some type of concession or new negotiation that's been done on that property. A small percentage of buyers will just completely back out of a deal unless there's something like major wrong with the property, like a foundation issue or something like that. But even then, if the sellers are willing to pay professional contractors to remedy the situation or make the repairs, most of the time we're back to the negotiation table after an inspection. So again, anytime a buyer agent calls and say, hey, my buyer didn't like it because the inspection didn't go well because there's too much work that we have to do. Well, who's to say the buyer has to do the work? Actually, where's the inspection report to show what's needed? Not that the buyer's agent and buyer is not obligated to give you a copy of their private inspection report, but typically, a lot of times, to me, that's a red flag that this was the case where the deadline was 6. They threw the offer out there at 5:45. They didn't have enough time to see the property. They were just throwing the offer out there to see if it would get accepted. And of course it did, because they went way above. Normally, this buyer would have came back and said, hey, we did our inspection. There's about, several grand worth of repairs. We want to renegotiate the price. But it looks like in this case, they backed out. They probably just never seen the property, which is fine with us because we have more offers. The issue is on the listing agent side, and since this is a probate deal, getting a mutual release signed and then getting another contract signed without losing any of the backup buyers kind of became a hassle because the time it takes to get new signatures and everything. So this is part 3, and I'll keep you updated. But basically, this deal is pretty much solid. I don't see anything going wrong with this property. We got an appraisal coming up, but there was we're pretty good. The numbers make sense. This one is going to close. You can check it in the future for Zillow. And again, this is another reason why when investors or for sale by owners decide that they're not going to hire an agent to list their home, they're basing, now here's what I got to tell you. A lot of times for sale by owners are basing their current list price based on the sold comps in the area. But what they don't know, see, other than this video, you probably wouldn't have seen these other prices. So a for sale by owner would only know to list their property at the price based on what the comps in the area were saying. But now we're seeing something different. We're seeing that there's a greater demand based on the offers that we're receiving. So a lot of these buyers may not see that property listed for sale by owner, depending on where the owner is marketing the property. But the owner is missing out on this extra money, in other words. Now, they may list the house high, but are they getting the exposure? So there are some things we have to consider. When I'm seeing this information, automatically know to start marketing for sellers in that neighborhood, because I already know where the market, what direction is going based on how many offers we had and the price point. This is Reginald Perryman regisrealestate.com. And this is kind of like my listing agent diary that I'm going to record every so often. When I get an extremely hot listing, I will post it when we get multiple offers, because all too often people have buyer agents and buyers say a listing agent doesn't call back and a listing agent this. Well, here it is. We get offers, we submit them to the seller, and the seller makes the decision, not the listing agent. So this is Reginald Perryman, regisrealestate.com. And to my next hot listing, not just any listing, I'm only going to bring you the hot ones where there's a lot of competition, so you can see how competitive the market is. And then we'll move forward from there. regisrealestate.com. Check me out.